Welcome to Devices, Katherina. Now, you have got a lot of very important things to say because you're actually German,
I'm German, yes.
but you live in Ireland.
In
And
Dublin,
this is
yes.
very important for the Irish audience because they sort of don't know there's help available. Could you tell us what you know about your experience, who you are, and what you offer?
All right. So I'm based in Dublin and I'm a regression therapist. And I do help people to recall memories. But this is only one part of my work. Another part of it is also to help them if their memories, forgotten memories from the childhood and difficult memories, also to kind of to transform them and to integrate them in their current life. And as a regression therapist, I wasn't so much involved into this subject, but I came across people and they came to me and said, you know what, I have really unusual experience. I have experiences with extraterrestrials and I don't know, if I'm just, mad. So, but they came to me and they asked me if I can help them to remember. And as I do help people, to recall memories from their subconscious mind, is what I'm doing. So I'm using hypnosis. So I put a person in trance, and in this state we can kind of go into the subconscious, and because the subconscious is like a huge, it's like a hard drive. Everything is stored there, and with certain techniques we can recall these memories. And so I'm helping people to recall these memories, but also it's not only recalling the memories, it's also helping them to integrate the memories. Because, I just can give you an example. It's just recently, so I'm working with a young woman, she's from Hungary, and she has like abduction experience by, called ET, extraterrestrial since childhood. And she came to me and she said, so I want to know what actually happens to me. I have just bits and pieces here, which I can consciously recall, but I don't have the full picture. And she's also doing a lot of research, she knows Simon Parks and, you, Miles, she told me about you. And and I can help people to kind of get into these memories. But also what you have to know if you do this, it's kind of that it might be not what you think the way it was, because I think she might be a good example. For her it was all good, all positive in the way. So it's kind of like maybe there was something, it gave her like a meaning in the way or something
You're
special.
talking about Dolores Cannon?
No, I'm talking just about a session with this woman. I can talk a little bit later. But she came to me in her memories about like what happened to her in the childhood and up to now is like it was all good. And then when we did the regression, just different things came up. She couldn't recall where she was examined, where they did operation on her body. And this can be very frightened in the first state if you find out what actually happened to you. But what we can do, and it sounds maybe a little bit crazy, but it's nothing else. If someone remembers it had abuse in the childhood, maybe a sexual abuse, they feel something is not all right. And this is kind of what I want to share. So there are ways it's possible to deal with it. And even it might be in the first moment like a shock for the system, say, oh my God, I didn't know. But it's there anyway, it's stored in the subconscious and it will influence the normal daily life. So you just feel something is not all right, and that's why usually people come to me. And and once you have this memory, it's not only getting the memories, it's not only about the content, what happened. Now I know it's important, but it's not only this. The second phase, so to speak, is also to help to integrate these memories, because I know it sounds also maybe not so nice. An event as such is neutral. We just, even it's very, very difficult once, but the way we store it, because, let's see, there was an abuse or abduction and we are under such a stress, it's a fear. It's like, so the person is traumatized. So this memory about the event is stored in the subconscious. And the way it's stored in the subconscious, it has a certain vibration, a certain frequency, which is in your energetic body. It's stored like as a fear event, and it will influence you. And once you kind of remember, of course, you go through these tremendous and intense emotions, but then there is a possibility, and the interesting thing, the subconscious mind, it's very powerful. I don't mean the body, but we as, I don't know what we ever want to call it, the essence, what we are truly are. We are very, very powerful. And we have tools we even don't know, but we are able to change the frequency pattern of these memories. It's possible. And in a trance state, what happens in a trance state, it's kind of the conscious mind goes into the background. It's like you're not so identified of being Miles, Katherina, I'm this, I'm such. So you go into a different state of awareness where you have access to information, everyone has it. And in this state, once you're in this trance state, and even you recall this memory, that's possible by just asking the person, to do what they feel and know what they have to do in order to change the frequency of the event, the way it's stored. So we cannot change the event as such. I know people doing this, some hypnotherapists, to reframe it, but it's my personal opinion. Just, tell me the way you wished it would have been happened. But the person deeply inside knows it's not really true. But you can store the memory in a different way, and it comes from the subconscious. And yeah, I just wanted to tell you also, I know there's also a lot of fear of hypnosis and regression, because yes, you are in a very vulnerable state. And
well, I think there's a lot of bad things have happened with so-called hypnotic regression.
Yes.
Because it hasn't really been done by people really who, or those individuals, and I think you've mentioned one in our previous conversation off camera, maybe have a different agenda. It isn't really to help you, it's to follow further their agenda.
See, the problem is if you do the regression, let's see just regression of people who have contact with extraterrestrials, so the abduction or even the contactees. And if you use the technique because you are a researcher, you want to write books about the content. So your focus is to get as much content out of the person as you can. Yeah, and this is absolutely fine. That's the way they do it. But your aim, what you want to do, can very, very easily overseen. That's a human being lying down here, a person who has been traumatized.
Re-traumatize the individual by putting them through that experience, but not actually remembering the experience without giving them, a way out or help.
Yeah, so I don't know how other people are doing this, but it's definitely, there's always a risk of re-traumatizing, because if you just remember and it's like it's an intense experience, you will be like all over the place. So that's why there is always, in my opinion, a part required to help the person to integrate these informations. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not using regression therapy. It's not the only method I'm using. I do also work with a method that's called trauma constellation. And what I do with this method is, this is specific for trauma, because what happens in a traumatic event is like the psyche of a person splits in fractions. So we have different parts, many parts. Yeah, and we both know, they use it in the military, we know this, by purpose, to defragment a person, to program them. But there's a reverse way to do this as well, and there are people out there that can do it, so different methods. The method I use, as I say, it's called...
What do you mean by a reverse way? I mean,
is
that healing?
It's a healing method. So when a trauma occurs, and that's natural, because everyone experiences trauma in their life, everyone here on this planet. And because when a trauma happens to a person, it's in such a stress situation, it cannot handle the stress. Let's see, abuse. Yeah, it's too much. I don't know what to do. And before getting, so to speak, mad about it, you kind of step out, and this is like a reactive pattern of this of a human being with the brain. You dissociate, you fragment in pieces. So you have the traumatized part here, and then you have a surviving part here. And the surviving part is has a strategy to not get in contact with the traumatized part. That's why people also with all sorts of abuse or abductions, they only can remember partial things, beside, of course, there are like tools used that they can't remember. But it's a natural process from the person to not remember the traumatic part, to cut this off, to suppress it. Because in this moment of stress, we think it's the only way we can survive. And if you know how it works, you can use it in different ways. You can use to program people like this, that you bring them in strong traumatized environments or situations, and they split, and you just take parts and you program them. And by what we can do in one way, and misuse these things, we can do it also in the other ways to bring them together. That is possible, to bring these parts together, so you kind of collect them and they merge together, and the more they merge, the more you will remember as well. And you will have a normal function, you will feel kind of more whole inside. It's absolutely possible. And this is also what I want to say. It's kind of like any abuse situation, any tremendous situation people went through her life, it's very, very sensitive. And I think it's not only the memory to get content, like, what happens if you're on a spaceship, but there's also the human being who went through a lot of things, and, the healing part is very, very important. That's where my focus is on, beside the content. I know it's fascinating, but the most important thing is the human being here coming there and is asking for help. That's what it is. I don't matter if it's like an ET abduction or if it's abuse or whatever happened to them or they were in war. This is what it ends.
So
dealing.
In Ireland, you actually got qualified to do your therapies here in Dorset, is that right?
Yes, I'm qualified. I'm a qualified hypnotherapist. I did it in Germany, in Berlin, where I'm from. Then I did a training with the Regression Academy here in Dorset, here in the UK. Then I was also here in the UK a training with Dolores Cannon, in quantum healing hypnosis therapy. That's what I did. Well, and I also trained I work with crystals as well, and I'm trained also in other healing methods, and that's why I'm quite aware of energies, and sometimes I can just pick up things.
So, how many people are you seeing in Ireland? Is there a group that people in Ireland know who to contact, or
if you refer
how
now,
do they contact you?
Yeah, so usually over the website. So my experience is people are kind of, because it's still like a subject, don't talk about this. I have contact to someone, to an extraterrestrial or to a group of being. You don't say things out loud in the public. And usually people, even the people I met, they said, they're always worried, if they contact me, that, I will refuse them. And I know someone who went to a hypnotherapist, I say, I will not work with you because you're crazy. But I know they are not crazy, these people. I know this is happening. And if they want to find me in Dublin, if someone out there and thinks, what, I have experiences there, and I want to know more, I want to remember, so they can contact me over my website, which is www.hypnosisindublin. It's one word, hypnosisindublin.com. And that's my website.
Hypnosisindublin.com.
Very, very simple, and they can contact me, and yeah. So, there's help there. Definitely, I'm pretty sure I cannot help everybody. That's not how it is, So, but there's definitely help out there. If someone wants to get help, I'm convinced the universe will bring you to someone who helps you.
And what's the sort of climate in Ireland these days in terms of the UFO thing? I'm a former Irish UFO Research Centre way back in the 70s.
Yeah.
A lot of UFOs, a big flat in the 1970s and then again in the early 1990s. But I'm long out of Ireland. Are there any groups that you know of where people somehow make contact? The targeted individual situation
Yes.
in Ireland is pretty serious as well.
Yes, I think there are many people there. I don't know any groups, and the people who contact me, it's only just the individual person. They don't have any groups, any support groups there. And it's not even the people there, who have the experience, also the therapists. So I work very much on my own. There's no really a network, and I think it makes these things even very more difficult, because there's not no working together there. But it might be, I know from, can't recall the name, but Carrie Cassidy did an interview with one hypnotherapist in the US, and she has a meet-up group there, so where people can really come together, not only, for the regression, but just to share, that they're not on their own, because I know people, they are so isolated, because even the family members, they don't want to hear about the stuff, because, don't just leave us alone with this, you know. And so I think it would be good just, you know, to build groups, you know, support groups. You have it for all other areas as well, you know, if you're alcohol addicted or drug, you know, you have support groups. But I wouldn't know any group in Ireland. But I don't know too many people, but, you know, I don't know.
Well, maybe there is a group, or maybe it's worth trying to start one.
Absolutely, if there are people, if there's interest there, yeah, sure, because it's like helping each other, that's what it is, you know, so helping each other to go through difficult experiences, you know, and know you're not on your own, and this is a huge thing, just to know you're not on your own there.
Let's establish the kind of implants and the kind of things you've seen and noticed in people, these kind of objects over people's stomachs and the fine wiring that you've seen.
Yes.
Could you go into all that sort of stuff in really great detail in this section?
Yes. It actually happened, you know, why I did a regression, and this is back in 2012. Someone came to me for a past life regression because he had difficulties in this life to, you know, just to be seen public and to you know, give his opinion across, you know, there was a lot of fear about it. And he was asking if I can help him to go to the root cause of his fear, why he cannot speak proper, so to speak, in public. And so I did a regression therapy, and we did ended up in a past life regression. It was a medieval time, and he had a female body at the time, was a woman, and was burned on a stake because he had at the time a different opinion, which was not mainstream. And this
I think that's being very polite.
Right. So this fear was still in him. And as he was lying on the massage table, so people lie down there for regression when I do the regression, so I'm put in a trance, and then I regress them back to the root cause, and then he started to see these things, and he described it to me. And I always observe the person, so I see what's going on, if they get stressed, something. And as I just looked at him, I saw in the middle of his stomach like a big device, and it was a circle in this shape, and I knew it was not a physical one. Could you do that again?
Just exactly where was it? What sort of shape?
It was here, exactly on the size of your solar plexus, and it was this size. And it was.
Can you describe that?
Yes, I can describe it. I know it's like a technical device. Even you cannot see it with your eyes, or even if you do X-ray, you wouldn't see it. But still, it was there. You know, it's like a. In an etheric body. It was implanted in his etheric body, so to speak, energetic body. And this device had like little lamps around, like in a circle. They were flashing. And I just knew by seeing it, that the device was there to control his emotional reactive pattern. So this was increasing his fear pattern. You know, it was increasing him like to talk, to speak, to follow his path, so to speak. And the moment I saw it, I just knew what it did. And for some reason, I just thought, you know, I know it can be removed. So and
this is very important, because removal of these things in the etheric, so-called etheric domain. Explain all that.
Yeah, I cannot explain, because in this moment, it feels like I know what to do, and I knew in this case, because I know there are different technology, and some are more simple and others are more complicated. And in this moment, I just knew it was the right moment to remove it, and we did remove it, and it's really like an energetic operation, and people really feel it. They feel, oh my God, what happens here?
Do you know anything about the source of that technology, like who put it there or where it came from?
I don't have any idea. I really don't know.
But you knew how to deal with it, though.
Yes, I knew how to deal with it. And that's what I told you before. There was another example, it was like a few years back now, when I went on a trip with a friend of mine to meet someone who did energy work, and he was kind of creating pyramids, and he had contact to extraterrestrial, and he said, they give me the information, I create these tools. So my friend became friends with him, and she went to visit him. It was still in Germany, up in the north, and she went a few days before me, and I kind of came later. And when I arrived in his house, and she was there with another friend, I just saw she was totally wired up. I just could see it. And I just asked her, "Oh, what happened to you?" But she wasn't aware of anything. Why? What's strange? And it was like everywhere was in their etheric body again was just things going on. And as I saw it, I knew it was her attention was put on a certain focus, so in a certain frame. It's like someone puts a screen on you, and you're just watching the screen, and you just see the screen. You can't see outside anymore, and your brain waves, your pattern, they're adjusting to the screen what they're playing there. So it was not the screen what I saw, but this is what they did. So I saw her focus was totally different, and then I saw I have. It just came out. You have to look inside. You have to look inside you, into what you truly are, and not on these things, because they put your focus somewhere else, and they hold you in a certain vibrational pattern. I didn't think so much about it. I was just, to be honest, I was just freaked out a little bit myself, because I said, "Oh my God, what's going on there?" And I just left the next day. I didn't want to stay in this house.
So you weren't able to deal with that wiring, that so-called wiring. Can you give any description or details?
No, at this time, because she was working with energies herself, and when we came back, to the place we lived, as far as I can remember, she already removed things. She went inside, and then she could recognize things, and she removed it.
Is that because you noticed it? Did you tell her?
Yes, I told her. Yeah. Straight away when I saw it, I told her, you're full with stuff, full with it, and then she started to remove it, and then.
Is that in Ireland?
No, this happened in Germany, and this is this is a personal opinion. If it's true, I really do not know, but I think everyone has implants, more or less, to a more or less degree, because they can manipulate you. But this is really my personal opinion. And my personal opinion is also based on my work as a regression, that these implants, they started already when you're in the womb of the mom, very, very early, in a very, very early stage, you get them implanted. So you're operating on a certain frequency. So.
How can that be traced or dealt with?
I don't have the answer to it, absolutely not, because you can learn to. I think everyone is able to feel energy, even you don't see it necessarily. And so sometimes I use crystals, because the crystals help, especially the laser crystals, because they shoot out very strong light beams. And I sometimes do it because if I work with certain people. I told you about a woman I worked with. She had ET abduction experiences, and after the session, I knew you can call it maybe attacked, in the way. But they tried to implant things in my system, but I could take it out there, as far as I were.
What sort of things in your system? What do they look like? How do they affect you?
From my own experiences, I didn't read about these things because I haven't found much in the internet. This is all based on my own observation. As I said, I think there are different technologies, and there are different entities there. There are the entities there. They're with you. They feed from your energy. That's what I see, And they feed on really low vibrational energy, like fear, basically fear, hate, all these vibration. But in my opinion, it's not. We cannot blame them and tell them, it's your fault, because we already have like an emotion like this. But because, for example, of trauma, it's cut off, and we don't want to deal with this stuff. And what they do, they can use it and amplify it and leave you in there and make you believe, you're worthless, you're not good enough. All these thoughts people have, your failure. I honestly believe they are not the thoughts of these people. They are thoughts they implanted in their mind. But because they are believing that it's them, I'm this person. But I don't think it's like this. It's kind of like, for me, it's like they're in trance. They're really in trance.
I mean, are these as a result of demonic or fairy or reptilian, alien, or what? I mean, how does this...
I cannot name it. I don't have a name because, as I said, I didn't read a lot of things. So just now, the last weeks, I was reading about what names is given to them in the internet. So I didn't come across any reptilians. If I, let's see, myself, go what we call in the astral plane, I know there's so many different life forms out there. Life forms you even wouldn't imagine. They look like sometimes like a geometry. I even can't describe it. And it's you cannot see just say like they're good or bad. Sometimes they're just there and they just do what they do because they're programmed this way.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing this. But I think it's good to know, because you see in my training in regression therapy or hypnotherapy, they don't deal with these things too much, you know. So it's kind of they don't tell you. But for example, people who have been used drugs or alcohol, they have a lot of these entities around them because their energy field, the natural energy field, it's broken because of the abuse of drugs, and they are really, really easy targets. You know,
So drug abuse.
Yes.
Yeah, is
Any drug abuse, you know, it's like your auric field, which is a protection. It just cracks, you know, it becomes weakened. And then what it is, they come from the outside, these entities, and they're just around the aura. But they can they can come, if it's really weak, they can go into the body, and that's the way they kind of can control the person. I know it sounds a bit freaky, but, you know, it's kind of, they can really control a lot of things. And I think many people out there in the psychiatric clinics, you know, I think they have entities, you know, with them. But this is, as I said, my personal
how does one get rid of that? If once you recognise that, can you do that, or are there any therapies which can deal with that?
Well, as I said, I don't have a recipe for this, really not. I can say you have to do A, B, C in order to get there. Yeah, but from my own observation and also the way I deal with things, it's kind of like, first of all, it's kind of if there's any unresolved stuff, like especially from childhood, I hate you and all these things, because they hold you in this vibration. These, as I said before, the memories, they have a certain, we holding have a certain vibration. And if there's a lot of fear or hate, you know, this vibration is still, you know, in your energetic field. And that's what they can use. They like to use these vibration. If you, for example, chant mantras like a Gayatri mantra, it's just an example, it doesn't mean it's the solution. You know, you go in a different vibration because we are not that body, we are much more, but because we are kind of hypnotized, we think we are that body and we are this little person and we don't have any power, which is absolutely not true in my opinion. So let's see, if you chant a mantra for 1 hour, it's kind of, you go in a different state of awareness, your vibration is totally different, and they don't like it because they are not in this vibration. They cannot, no, they cannot deal with this vibration.
In other words, it makes you taste bad to them. So
yes, it's not. You're not the right food anymore, really, so to speak. You know, it's kind of like that. Don't do this. And I remember from my own experiences when I started to, in my own energy field, I started just to become aware of certain implants in my own field. I did use the laser crystal. I don't have any idea how it works for anyone else, but it helped me. And when I did it, I saw there were beings, there was a group coming there, but it was in an astral plane. And they were watching, it's kind of, what is she doing there? And there was another being come there, it was kind of like the boss, and said, no, why can't you see it, you know, and try to reverse it.
Like a Borg from Star Trek?
It's not like a Borg. It's difficult to explain,
a cyborg,
because...
or some kind of Archon?
I heard the term archons. I don't know, you know, how to. I just see what I see.
But what did that other being?
They're organized. They are very organized, and but I say that's kind of like they just have their agenda. That's how they operate. It's like an own program. They're programmed this way, so to speak, you know, and they follow this program. And part of the program is to, like, you know, to manipulate you in a certain way. And if you try to get out,
this is in the so-called astral. Could you explain what that really means? I mean, it's something that's bandied about quite a lot.
It's kind of like, I was reading this up, it's called astral plane, because I wouldn't give it a name because I just see it. It's kind of like, I cannot give it names, you know, it's difficult. I just do it to talk about it. So I read it up, and then, okay, that's how it's called.
I just was wondering if one person's astral plane is the same as another one.
Yeah, I don't have a definition, but I know this is the non-physical plane, and there are different worlds out there. It's like different worlds here around us, and you can go into these different worlds, and they have their own setup. You know, like we have this environment here, and these worlds, they have their own world there, and they live there, but we can communicate, and they are aware of us. But very often we are not aware of them because of the frequency. We are vibrating, and not yet maybe everyone is able to become aware of them. Yeah. And what I wanted to mention as well, so this is my suggestion this is how I work, you know, if people are coming, it's kind of to help them to feel not like a victim, first of all, think, oh my God, you know, that's happened to me, and because it holds you, because it's what they want, so to speak. It's kind of like, it's great, please stay there, please be a victim, oh, give me more from this energy. It's so nice if you suffer, you know. It's kind of like, yeah, stay there. So helping them to go out of the victim role, and yes, things happened, and they've been maybe not nice, yes, they happened, but it doesn't mean you are a victim. So to work on this, to help, you know, because this is my belief that there is something inside us, an essence, that's not touchable. By no technique, by no technical device, how strong, and it might take thousands of years, but this essence it's not touchable. Once we are aware of it, that we are this one, there are just incredible things possible. This is my opinion.
Well, this is fantastic news. I mean, how do people raise their vibration or become more aware? Something that they can do?
I think it's also my personal opinion. I think everyone is unique, and I think there's no recipe like for everyone. For some person it might work in this way, for another person like this. I just can speak from my own experience. You know, when I started, you know, I was very much into angels and all these things, which is fine and has its purpose, you know. But I think unless you're working with your stuff, deep hidden stuff, you know, all the hurts, all the pain you never wanted to see, you're not getting there, because that's how it can be used against you. And once you're not afraid anymore to feel these pains, because the human being, that's why it's so easy manipulated, wants to have just the lovely side, and wants just to have the happy feelings. I want to have the stuff, you know. Sometimes they come, can you help me to get rid of this one? You know, and I say, no, you can't get rid of this one. It's kind of like to go in there, but this is very important. You go through the emotions, but it doesn't tell you who you are. It's an experience. It cannot tell you who you are, and it cannot change who you are. It's an experience you had, you know. And then, but people think because of that experience, I'm powerless. But who's saying this? Who's powerless?
Yeah.
It happened to you, but why are you powerless? You're not powerless. You know,
focus forward, get up, move on, and
move on, work on your own stuff. You know, if you feel drawn to work with energy, I found it very helpful. As I said, I use crystals to work in my energy fields.
Are there any different types of crystals? And I know a lot of people use crystals and they sort of they never clean them or anything like that. Is there anything you can say about that?
The way I do it, as well, I share my personal opinion. Maybe it's not written in the book, but you can communicate to the crystals. They have conscious itself, and if I hold them in my hand, I can talk to them, and I just feel how their vibrational pattern is, and if sometimes it's broken, the energy flow is broken, you know, so you can feel them. But you have to see, and if you embrace all your feelings, the good ones and the pain ones, you can feel so much, and then you know. And but what you can do there, the usual, or the techniques, you know, to cleanse them in cold water, you know, not all crystals, but most like rock crystals, you can do this. You know, some people put it in the earth to discharge them, or just if you do energy work, just have the intent to work with energies, you know, to cleanse the crystals, because it's important. They can be full and they cannot work anymore. Yeah. So you have to discharge them.
How do you know a crystal is so-called full? Sort of, is there any kind of technique that you can say that crystal's full after a week, or a year or whatever? I mean, is there anything? Is there
no.
any sort of
I don't
indication?
I don't have any scientific or any way to say, after 1 week you have to cleanse it. You have to feel it inside. That's the way I do it. You just know. You feel, okay, I work so much with the crystal, okay, it needs a rest. So I do it pretty much over feeling and over communication with the conscious which is inside, because they will tell you. They will tell you.
And how does a normal person find out how to do that? Is there anything that they can do, any techniques, so they can become more aware, or any practices which would make them become more aware of what's going on with the crystal? Or other things?
Yes, I think everyone needs to find his own way. You can, of course, do to a workshop and you can learn certain techniques, absolutely. But you have to find out what suits you. Not everyone will be brilliant in playing the piano. It's the same with the crystal. But I think everyone has his unique talents. And now I come back what we said, and we can help each other, and maybe someone's very talented in crystals, someone else is very good in working with earth energy, someone else is very, very good in healing. And we can come together and just put our gifts together, and work together as a team. I cannot do everything, and someone else, it's maybe not talented in everything. So some people will be really, really good in crystal works, and for some people it might be hard. That's like, oh, what a crystal, I don't feel a thing here, it's not speaking to me, what she's just talking about.
But other different crystals will be best for different people. It's not there's no one size fits all.
No, I know there are books out, and people can read them, and it's based on experiences from people who work with crystals. And again, I'm not following these books because I just go with the crystal. And because what I found out that, let's say, a rose quartz, if I hold the rose quartz is tuning into my system, to this biosystem, and it's just working what's going on there. And if I give it to you, it will work totally different to you. So, but of course, you can put it in structures, like, because we like this one, this is for this one is this. But yeah, so I always like to be just open, get in resonance with the crystal and see what is this doing. Just ask the crystal, it will really show you. If you go inside. Yeah, this is another thing I might mention. What helps me is meditation. In the form, I go in stillness, not the guided meditation with headphones, because it's distracting. It's good, but it's also distracting the mind, So it's kind of...
Sorry, explain that in more detail.
Like, if I can only say how I do it. So I go, when I go in meditation, I go in stillness, because this is the only way I can see things. For me, it's like this. I have to go inside. If I close my eyes and I go inside, it's the best I can describe. I'm aware of my energy fields. I know what's inside there, and I can see if things is there which shouldn't be there, which I wouldn't be able if I sit here and just talking, because my whole focus is somewhere else. So my focus turns inside, and then my alertness is increasing. And the more I go inside, the more I know. That's the best way to describe. But it took me quite a while, because my mind was so busy. It took me a few years to go more and more inside and trust. I went through a lot of fear and panic attacks and things like this myself before I came to this place.
How did you get yourself out of those panic attacks? What was the solution for you to do?
I need to face my own traumas. Yeah, so my one of my big ones was, my mom passed when I was little. I never wanted to look into this, so I'm fine, I'm grand. It's okay, It wasn't okay. Like the way it was stored in me, and yeah, I went through a lot of things myself, but I learned that we don't have to be afraid to look into the darkest sides,
That's important.
Yeah, we don't have to be afraid. And sometimes it's good to do it with someone, because it really feels like dying. Because we have so strong emotions here as a human being, I mean, in this experience as a human being, so to speak, because there are different ways we experience ourselves as well. But in this form of human being, we experience strong emotions. And this can be overwhelming, especially with traumatic events, because it's such a strong charge. It really feels you die. And it's good you have another human being there, and say, it's okay, you can go through it. It doesn't have to be a therapist. So.
the main thing is, how did you get to Ireland, and what brought you there, and what sort of things are you noticing there in terms of energetics and your customer base, basically? Where does that come from?
Yes. So I originally from Berlin, and I came over to Ireland simply to learn English. That's what I thought at the time.
Well, the best spoken English, spoken English is South Dublin.
Yes.
The English don't understand that.
It took me a while to get around the Dublin accent, but now I'm fine. I think I'm grand.
I can't understand that at all.
But I love the mentality. I have to say, I gotta say, very, very lovely people. I find the Irish ones are one of the friendliest people. Really, they are so helpful. They're really, really nice. And
are you saying that they're really, really nice, or are they really, 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 really
I think
nice?
there are many good-hearted people there. Yeah, but I also like, there's also one thing, and I don't know if it has to do, if it's their culture with the Catholic Church. You know, they're pretty nice, but they don't like to be confronted too much. So I'm from Berlin, there's a lot of demonstration on the street, and there's nothing happening there really in Ireland, so they're really quiet. You know, they're very good, you know, very into sport and all these things, but they're kind of more, say, they're not so like, no, I don't want to have this one. The Germans are really like, don't like this, so let's go on a demonstration, or like the French people. It's not like this with the Irish ones. So that's why I came there, and I liked it there. I stayed there, and then opened, you know, my practice in Dublin, which I have since 2012.
So were you surprised that you had you know, with a conservative Irish culture, were you surprised that you had customers that they would seek to, that you would have business, in other words?
I have to say, I just did it. You know, so of course I prepared it. You know, I left the company, I studied law, I was working in the corporate world before, totally different. You know, but I prepared my switch, and but I didn't know how it goes. Didn't have any idea, but I was in a way lucky. It worked from day one. People just came from day one, and it's up to now like this. And
were you guided? Did something guide you to Ireland, bring you there? Sort of?
I wasn't on my plan. I just knew as a child that I grew up in the old GDR, and I did learn Russian, but I didn't learn English at school, even I wanted to. And I was crying because I really wanted to learn English, but it wasn't possible because I knew I needed later. That's all what I knew. I say, I need this language. So things came, so when it's not working this way, then a different way comes to you. And
so, I mean, how long have you been speaking English?
As long as I'm living in Ireland, now 7 years. I'm 7 years in Ireland and Dublin. And yeah, it's kind of like, I don't have an agenda, or I don't know how long I'm going to be there. I just live day by day as good as I can.
Well, why did you look me up? Why did you come to Basis? What was your reason? You come the whole way from Ireland.
I came the whole way, yeah. I just had a mad idea to contact you. But let's go there. That's because I met people who had the UFO abduction experiences, and that's my feeling, or also what I see. They're very, very separated. You know, there's no network there. It's kind of there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the main reason.
This is the main reason.
So the people in Ireland
know that there's a contact network. Now, are there other therapists like you?
There are not so many regression therapists there. I know a friend of mine, she operates in grey stones, you know, so she's also doing the regression work there. You know, but beside her, I don't know anyone. I know there are hypnotherapists there, but I'm not in contact with them, how much they deal with regression.
I mean, this is one of the key things about the AMASH project, which I was with another 3 other individuals. That was in order to sort of help people come to a network of a help network. That was the whole thing about the H. It was helpline.
Yes.
And we were wanted to establish a network of therapists, so that when people had this trauma or whatever in different areas, that we could tell them to go to somebody.
I find it's very important because, you know, even the regression therapy, I find it's a very good tool, but sometimes for persons, some other methods are needed, you know, because one method cannot cover everything.
Of course.
You know, and this person, as I said, you know, with this method, it can help you to go as far as this, and maybe another method is required just to overcome something else. So it's actually good to work in the network, but I'm not in the network. I'm pretty much working there on my own, also with my experiences, you know. And
Now, what are your qualifications? You've got a lovely business card. I mean, what's your...
yes, you know, I'm a trained hypnotherapist. I'm a trained regression therapist. I'm a trained life between life therapist. I'm a trained family constellation therapist. I'm a Reiki master, crystal healing. So this is kind of like, this is the method. This is the tools I use, and that's why I think that's why it's combining the regression therapy. Even I do regression. Sometimes they're just, I see the energy or the auric field, what's going on there.
What are the crucial elements that you are able to deal with? I mean, you've talked about these sort of etheric implants and things in your energy field.
Yes.
Could you describe really the detail of that, or how somebody, if they had some kind of a problem, how would they know that you would be the person that they'd want to come to?
Many people say, you know, they felt I'm the right person, you know, and they felt drawn, and they said, yeah, I need to contact you. Some people, I have a woman, she always, you know, she sees me in the dream and she knows she has to come. You know, it's really different, but I think people just know or feel maybe it would be a good way to go to this person. And then they come, and this is my personal observation. If people are stuck in their idea of being not good, or like I'm a failure, or you know I'm stuck. For me, it's like they're like in a hypnotic trance. Their whole focus is part of trauma. They can only see they can only see and think in a certain frame. And these devices, they amplify this trance state, and it makes it sometimes a bit harder, so to speak, to get out. You know,
so it uses their own thoughts to imprison themselves.
Yes and no. It's kind of because of difficult events and because we don't want to deal with it. You know, it's a natural reaction of a human being. But when we are getting older, you know, so we have the capacity and we are able to face it. We are able to face it, you know. And everyone can do it, really, everyone can do it. It needs courage, because it's not a nice thing. And, you know, don't get me wrong, it's nice to go in meditation and see angels. I did it myself, and there's nothing wrong about it, because it can help you in a certain way. But you can not only, in my opinion, not do only this one. You have to look into your stuff, because you're just escaping like this. You know, if you just focus, it's all nice and beautiful, never you look on your deep.
Yeah, there are individuals who go to sort of one therapist and then another and then another, and they never actually stop to heal themselves, but they just keep getting therapy.
Yeah, because they're thinking someone else is doing this. No one will do it for you. You know, sometimes people come, can you fix me? No. How? How shall I fix someone? The only thing what I can do is help the person to be strong, to look inside, because everyone knows what to do. Everyone knows what to do. Everyone knows how to fix themselves. No one needs to tell them. It's just forgotten, because you're so manipulated that you're nothing, you cannot do this one. Energy field, what's this one? Okay, other dimensions, you know. No, everyone knows, everyone has this knowledge, because on a bigger scale, we are all connected and we exchange information. If one person finds something out, everyone will know it and has access to it, and we can use it. You know, but we have to go inside for this. It's not working if you just be outside, like just focus on, you know, like I just do work, have family, which is all important, sport is all fine, but if it's the only focus you are aware from, you focus somewhere else, and this is holding you in trance. So, and once you have to focus, in my opinion, back to you, that's the only way for me, you know, to find more out about yourself and also about your abilities. Because everyone has beautiful and special abilities, unique, and most people don't know about it because they never access this. So
that's because we're told we don't have something, so
yes.
we don't think we've got it, even
yes.
though we have them.
This is the manipulation, you know. It started in school, you know, the way you learn, what you learn. You know, we all know the history they teach us is simply not true, you know. It's just upside down.
Are there any exercises or things that people could read or look for that would give them a better way of finding a way out?
the way I did it, I always put an intent out. It's the way I did it because there was a time in my life it was very difficult. There was also, I had a lot of trauma myself, the death of my mom, other things that happened to me, and I never wanted to look into this. But the moment, I realized I need to do this because otherwise I'm getting really physical sick, so I put intent and I just asked, okay, I need help here, and help came. Along the way. It didn't happen from one day to the next, but I always got help. For some reason, there were always people along my way who helped me to look into really deep, hidden things, up to now, And it's a process. It's not like they teach us, it's from A to B, it's kind of, you're goal-driven, it's like corporate world, we're going to achieve this goal. There is no goal in the way, it's kind of like just being with yourself, see what was going on, be honest to yourself, don't be afraid of the pain, and once I do this as well, once people confront with this pain and you take away, it was this, or, I hate you, you just take away the word hate and just experience the energy, you just let the energy flow. You don't have to define yourself, I have to be this or that, you just be in there and then energy starts to flow and you go into a very powerful state in this way. So this is what works for me, and for some other people it works this way as well, but for others maybe other things are needed. As I think, unfortunately, I wish it would be like this, there's a guideline, like a handbook, this is what you have to do, but it's not like that.
Well, the number one thing is that the individual can do it. They
Yes.
have that power.
First of all, they have to make a decision, you know what, I don't want to live like this anymore, I don't want to be the victim anymore, and then things just starting to roll. And don't be afraid to face your pain. It can be, once you go through it, it's such a release, and you're not afraid, you don't have this fear anymore. And if you don't have this fear anymore, you're not so manipulated, and you can't be so manipulated anymore because you simply don't fear it anymore. It's okay. It doesn't mean it's easy. I don't say it's all easy,
Oh, yeah.
but you're not in this fear-based state of living. So I'm based in Ireland, in Dublin South. It's called Knockline, the part I am. And you can find me over my website. It's www.hypnosisindublin.com, in one word, hypnosisindublin.com. There's my phone number. You can text me, ring me, write me, and...
And do you do remote sort of sessions like on Skype or things like that?
No, I don't do this. The simple reason is because sometimes if I regress people, they might experience strong emotions, and Skype is technique, and if they are a strong emotion and it just breaks up, I cannot help them.
Yeah.
So, and if they go to a difficult period in their memories, I don't want this to happen, so I prefer the one-to-one. Yes, because it's as I said, the way I work, that's the work, you go into deep stuff there, and it's not always so easy. It can really rock you, but it's good at the end, so because it's out then there. It's not in your system anymore.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, thank you.